Hare Krishna. Could anyone hear me? Tomorrow we are celebrating the holy disappearance day of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is an invaluable opportunity for each of us to render a service that is profoundly pleasing to Shri Radha Gopinath, to Shri Giriraj Govardhan. We have spoken many times and heard in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sukadev Goswami, he quotes Srimati Radharani, proclaiming Govardhan to be Haridas Bharya, the very greatest of devotees. And in her explanation why she has given him this supreme designation, because he knows the heart of Krishna so much. He pleases Krishna by rendering various services for the pleasure of Krishna's devotees. Srila Prabhupada often quoted from Krishna, Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika, that he considers one who worships his devotee even more pleasing than one who worships him directly. That is the nature of love. Rajalila Devi, can you hear? They cannot hear over here. Can you hear now? No one can hear here. Hare Krishna. In the material world, people aspire for personal happiness for themselves. This idea of I and mine, janasya mohoya mahamameti, is the very basic principle of material existence. We want to enjoy our senses. We want to enjoy through our minds. And those who are near to us, we try to give them happiness because they're near to us. My body, my family, my property, through sense gratification, through profit, adoration, distinction, prestige. But we inevitably are frustrated. So some turn to very pious lives with the hope of attaining heavenly happiness, where everything is much greater and much longer. But Krishna tells, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartanorjana mamu petyata konteya punar janmana vidyate. From the highest planet to the lowest, wherever we are, whoever we are, Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji Ki Jai. The high priests of Madan Mohan Temple of Karoli have just come to bless us. They are so gracious. Since their very birth, they've been worshipping Madan Mohan in his original form in Karoli, descendants of the original disciples of Srila Sanatana Goswami. And they were so kind. It's Anup Chakravarti Ji Goswami Ji. He offered the garments, Mahaprasad of Madan Mohanji, Lalita Vishaka, so that through those garments and crowns we can calculate the exact size. And in this way our Madan Mohan, Lalita Vishaka at Govardhan Eco Village were made. And they kindly came to preside over the installation of the deities, along with Jananivas Prabhu, and I believe His Holiness Indrajumana Swami Maharaj, and His Holiness Chandramali Swami Maharaj, and many others. But one of the most precious memories in my whole life was after the Prana Pratishta, the installation, and all the celebrations, and a wonderful feast of Mahaprasad for thousands of devotees attended. When everyone left in the evening, he was standing with just a few devotees in front of Madan Mohan in his new temple at Govardhan Eco Village. And practically never in his life did he ever leave Karoli. But still he came for this event. Karoli is the town between Vrindavan and Jaipur, where Madan Mohan reside. And he said to me, as he was so graciously standing beside us, he said, after almost 500 years, Madan Mohan has returned to his temple in Vrindavan. And what can I say except we are overwhelmed by your kindness. Thank you. Krishna tells in Gita, from highest planet to lowest, whoever, wherever, whenever in this material creation, suffering and death is inevitable. Sukadeva Goswami, he states that the greatness of life is not how many years that we may live in a body. The greatness of life is in the quality of our consciousness fixed in the loving service of the Lord. Better one moment in loving remembrance of Krishna than a long, long life. And when Srila Prabhupada explained these ideas, he referred to trees he had seen in the Calcutta Botanical Garden, a banyan tree, and the redwood trees in Northern California. Some are thousands and thousands of years old, and yet Lord Jesus Christ lived about 31 years. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 48 years. When we read about Prahlad, we mostly read about him when he was only 5 years old. But what is the glory of their lives, what they have contributed to the world? When we understand, when we come to the realization that there's really no sustainable happiness in this material world, it is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, then some transcendentalists and philosophers, they strive to enter into the all-pervading, impersonal light of Brahman, which is declared to be mukti or liberation. Krishna tells Brahmano hi pratishtaham. The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is the basis of this all-pervading Brahman. Sam siddhyar haritosh, the true success, the true glory of life is simply according to how we please Krishna, moment to moment, making the choice, whatever situation comes, sometimes honor, sometimes dishonor, pleasure, pain, happiness, distress, victory, defeat, success, failure, health, disease, whatever may come, that moment-to-moment choice, how can I please Krishna? It's in that moment that we find Krishna. And the path of bhakti in the beginning stages is through association, through sadhana, through prayer, through the sincerity of our intentions and our actions, we are cultivating the clarity of intelligence and the determination of our will to make that choice to please Krishna. Yesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mama payantite. And when Krishna is pleased, Krishna gives us the understanding how we could know him, how we could serve him. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of our acharyas and Srila Prabhupada quoted Krishna saying that one who worships my devotee is more pleasing to me than one who worships me directly. This is the nature of love. And Krishna is Govardhan. He's Giriraj. He's the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead in complete fullness. Krishna manifested himself as Govardhan Hill. We have spoken in Goloka Vrindavan when Shri Radharani, she speaks to Krishna, I will be very happy if you create a most beautiful place where we can perform our pastimes. Krishna closed his eyes and meditated within the very core of his heart on his love for Sri Radha and Sri Radha's love for him. This is so inconceivable. Later on, he came as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to experience that love. But in this eternal pastime in Goloka, he's meditating on his love for Sri Radha, the deepest of all spiritual truths. And from that love in the core of his heart, it emerged, it sprung from his heart as a seed of divine fire. And it soared into the air and landed on the ground of Vrindavan. It began to grow. It grew as a hill, larger and larger and larger. And within moments, the most beautiful mountain in all spiritual and material existence. And Sri Radharani and Lord Sri Krishna, they held hands and they climbed Govardhan Hill to explore it. And this is their favorite place in the spiritual world to perform pastimes. And Sri Radharani, in this beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, is describing Haridas Govardhan is the best of devotees. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna who comes as a devotee to teach us how to be devotees. Govardhan, by providing such nectarine waters, some soft and fragrant grasses, beautiful, beautiful divine caves, wonderful kalpavriksha trees, is giving so much pleasure to all the cows and all the animals and all the gopas and all the gopis, and supplying everything for them to please Krishna. So tomorrow we have an opportunity to give such pleasure to Krishna by worshiping our beloved founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Whatever he did, however he did it, it was to facilitate devotees, conditioned souls everywhere to love Krishna by cultivating sincere gratitude and applying that principles of that gratitude to our lives will invoke so much pleasure and so much blessings from Shri Shri Radha Govinda. So please let us propitiate and merciful acharyas, our enthusiasm and our commitment. When Krishna told Shri Radharani in Goloka that I am going to incarnate on the earth planet, because Bhumi Devi, the earth planet, took the form of a cow because she saw her children being exploited, and she knows how dear cows are to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Along with Brahma and demigods, they prayed to Krishna to come. When he invited Srimati Radharani to come with him, Garga Samhita describes, she said, of course, but our great happiness will be if we bring the Vrindavan forest, the Yamuna river, and Shri Giriraj Govardhan. Krishna said they are already there. They are waiting for us. So Govardhan took birth in this world as the son of Dronachala, just west of Bharatvarsha. And when he appeared, all the other mountains of the universe celebrated that now among us, one of us is that person who gives the greatest pleasure to Shri Shri Radha Govinda. You have heard many times, probably on this yatra, about the great sage Pulasya Muni, who happened to see the beauty, the grandeur, the intimacy of Govardhan Hill. And he asked Govardhan and his father, I would like to take this mountain to Varanasi for my meditation. Govardhan agreed to come as long as you do not put me down anywhere between here and your ashram. Because anywhere you put me down, I will not move. Giriraj became very light. He was bringing her through the sky, bringing him through the sky. And when they came over Vrindavan forest, this is in Satya Yuga, long before Krishna's manifested pastimes. But Govardhan came into this material world only to assist Krishna's pastimes. The idea of patience is very much there in the path of bhakti. Satya Yuga, he wanted to be here waiting. So when they were coming over by divine powers, Pulasya Muni desperately needed to respond to the calls of nature. That's something we can all understand. We may not have so much realizations of what I'm talking about the last few days, but this we all have realizations. So he set her down and performed his duties, and then he washed his hands, and Govardhan would not move. Giriraj is in his eternal home of Sri Vrindavan, waiting for Radha and Krishna and gopis, and actually waiting for us to be here today to hear and chant his glories and the glories of his loving devotees. At that time, Shri Giri Govardhan was very large in size. This is Satya Yuga. There were high peaks in the clouds. The great sage, he was really being influenced by Yogamaya, one thing after another. He said, if you are not willing to move, I pronounce a curse that you will become the size of one mustard seed smaller every day. And that was just the perfect arrangement. So when Krishna would come, he was just the right size. Krishna didn't have to go mountain climbing with Balaram and with gopis. In the Treta Yuga, we read about Lord Ramchandra. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna has come in many, many incarnations. Jayadev Goswami in his Gita Govinda, he describes especially Krishna's Rasa Leela pastimes here at Govardhan Hill. But before describing these things, he wrote Keshavadrita Menasarira, the Dasavatars, describing the prominent incarnations of Krishna. Because before we can understand the intimacy, the purity, the sweetness, and the love between Krishna and his devotees, which are so simple and so sweet, before we can really appreciate the laughter, the joking, and the playing of the absolute truth, and how he's conquered by even the simplest devotees. Raghunath Das Goswami writes that when the demigods and the greatest saintly scholars and rishis chant Vedic hymns for the pleasure of the Lord, Krishna takes more pleasure by millions of times when one of the elder gopis chastises him with very harsh words. How do we understand this? He explains who was Kurma, who was Matsyavatar. They were enormous. Varahadev lifted the earth. Narsinghadev and Ramchandra, Vamandev. When we understand the glories of all of these avatars, and we understand the principles of who is God, what is the soul, what is material nature, what is karma, and what is the absolute truth, who is it? Then we could begin to understand the most intimate, loving pastimes of Vrindavan. When Ramchandra was here on earth, Hanuman was looking for mountains to build the bridge across the Indian Ocean to rescue Sita. We read there was little squirrels. Their capacity was just offering grains of sand. And because they were doing the best they could do, Lord Ram was completely satisfied with them. However big or small we are, if our intent is purely to serve the Lord, we could all please the Lord equally. Patram pushpam palam toyam. If we have the capacity, we could build beautiful temples and make glorious offerings. And if we're just living in a little forest, even on our deathbed, unable to stand up, if we offer a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water with devotion, that has the same value. But Hanuman had the capacity to lift mountains. You don't see Hanuman throwing grains of sand, thinking, why should I work so hard? The Lord is happy with the squirrel. He's happy with giving everything we have. So when he saw Giriraj Govardhan, the most beautiful mountain in all of existence, he was very excited to bring that in the service of Lord Ramchandra. Now, we see many deities and paintings of Hanuman lifting mountains, but rarely do we see Hanuman unable to lift a mountain. One and the only time. He went to lift Govardhan, but Govardhan did not move. And he tried and he tried and he tried with all of his strength, but he could not move Govardhan. And Hanuman, being a great devotee, he wasn't angry. He was actually very happy. He understood, I'm meeting somebody greater than me. And with great joy in his heart, he worshipped Govardhan and he did parikrama. He did circumambulation. And then he said to Govardhan that actually our beloved Sita, she's suffering terribly, imprisoned by the tyrant Ravana. And Ram is in so much distress. And we're building a bridge across the ocean for Ram to meet with Sita, to rescue her. That is the only reason I came here. When Govardhan heard that, he said, yes, please, my beloved Lord is calling for me. Please take me. So Hanuman was just preparing to lift him up. And at that moment, a voice from the sky, Hanuman, the bridge is complete. No more mountains. Govardhan's heart was broken. Sita's suffering. Ram wants to rescue her. I had an opportunity to serve. When Hanumanji saw how heartbroken Govardhan was, that there was no need for his service, Hanuman tried to give solace. He said, when I go back to Setubandha in South India, I will tell Ram about your desire. And Hanuman jumped back to the south of India. And there he explained everything about the qualities of Giriraj. And Lord Ramchandra was so deeply moved. He said to Hanuman, you go back to Vrindavan and you give this message. Tell that he should stay in Vrindavan, and I will be incarnating in the Dwapar Yuga in my original form of Krishna. And there you will participate in my most loving, intimate pastimes. If you come now to be part of the bridge, I'll just walk one time to cross over you, and that's it. But when I come to Vrindavan, you will be the favorite most place for me to have pastimes with the gopas, with the gopis, and with you. So just wait in Vrindavan, and I will be coming. And then he said, I will lift you up with my left hand, and I will personally hold you over my head for 7 days and 7 nights. And you will be the favorite place for the Brajavasis and for myself and all of Vrindavan. So many beautiful sound effects here at Govardhan. Actually, we could be really purified if we hear these sirens, or even if we hear this loud music. We may think, in one sense, I wish it was just very natural. It's natural to think like that. But it's happening. It's beyond our control. We might as well interpret it in such a way that I'm at Govardhan Hill. And these sounds, why should I be disturbed? Why not just appreciate? This is an experience of being in the holiest place in the spiritual world at Govardhan Hill. And be grateful. If we're really grateful to be here, then whatever may be going on around will be only enhancing our gratitude to be here. A few days ago, we were speaking about the parikrama, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began his Govardhan parikrama at the Manasi Ganga. He bathed, he danced and chanted at the Haridev Mandir. He took his lunch at Brahmakund. He slept the night at Haridev, and then he continued. So with your permission, I'll speak of some of these wonderful places. And each of these holy sites that many of you will be visiting or have visited, not only are places of the Aprakata Lila, the ever-existing pastimes of Vrindavan, happening right in these places beyond material perception. When Krishna came to the world with his beloved devotees, 5,000 years ago, his pastimes were visible, even to the material senses. But when he concluded his earthly pastimes, he continues in the spiritual realm of Vrindavan, where we are. Remandana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. A very crude example. We are seeing the beauty of the deities in Nitai Gaura Chandra on the altar. Now, if someone comes and they're blind, the deities are still there, but he can't see. If you give the person vision, he can see what's there. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Krishna can only be seen through a heart of love. When we have that love, we could see Krishna. in Vrindavan. If we have the heart of love, even if we're not seeing with our eyes, we're feeling, we're seeing by feeling with our hearts these pastimes manifesting. And all of our beloved acharyas, so many, they have done the Govardhan parikrama. So when we do parikrama, we are following in the footsteps, not only of Krishna, who established the first Govardhan parikrama, but such great souls as Madhavendra Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Vallabhacharya, and so many other great persons. And they have revealed the reality of these places, so that when we go, even in our blind condition, through hearing, through chanting, through praying, through meditating with faith, we can actually be there in the Leela of the Lord. The next place, Vajranabh established a beautiful temple here to honor this pastime of Krishna. It is Dangati, also called Krishna Vedi. And Govardhan Hill, Krishna manifested in such a way in a form of a peacock. Radha Kund and Shama Kund are his eyes. Mukharavinda, which is at Manasi Ganga, is the Lord's Giriraj's mouth. And Dangati is his narrow, long neck. It's a narrow passageway. And limitless pastimes of the gopis and Krishna and his Priya Narmasaka, his most beloved cowherd boy friends who assist him even in the conjugal relationships, the Madhurya Rasas with Sri Radha and gopis. They would have pastimes where Krishna would block their way and not let them pass without paying tax. And there are limitless stories of how these tax pastimes, with all sorts of creative details, were performed. When Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was living at Sri Radha Kund, Rupa Goswami came to meet him and gave him the manuscript of a book he had just written, the Lalita Madhava. Rupa Goswami left. Raghunath Das Goswami began to read it, and he was reading about the separation of Sri Radharani and gopis when Krishna had left them. And for Raghunath Das Goswami, he taught on the highest level this devotion of Radha Dasyam, that the ultimate way of pleasing Krishna and the ultimate highest realization of yoga and dharma, wherein the greatest pleasure is given to Krishna and the greatest ecstasy is experienced by the soul, is when we surrender for all eternity to be an assistant of Sri Radha's assistance. Gaudiya Vaishnavas consider this much higher than being directly an associate of Krishna, because assisting she who he loves most gives him the greatest pleasure. So when Raghunath Das Goswami is hearing of her love and separation, he was constantly weeping. He was mortified. Days passed. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. He just cried. And a devotee came and told Rupa Goswami, this is what's happened. This is the effect your book is having on him. How loving was the association of the Goswamis for each other. Just for Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami wrote another book called the Dana Keli Kaumudi, which is a beautiful story about Dangati and Krishna playfully taxing the gopis, not letting them pass. And the wonderful interactions between Krishna and Sri Radha and gopis was so sweet and so beautiful. And they were all Radharani and gopis were so happy. Raghunath Das Goswami became completely ecstatic. And Rupa Goswami said, now you're reading this, let me take Lalita Madhava back. It's a beautiful story, but it's also the profoundest realization that's being revealed. His only happiness was in the happiness of Krishna, the happiness, and Raghunath Das Goswami, knowing that the ultimate happiness of Krishna is the happiness of Sri Radha, His whole life was simply Radha's happiness. And then he wrote a book about tax pastimes. And he named it the Dana Keli Chintamani. And I'd like to very briefly speak some of what is in the contents of this pastime. He writes that Vasudeva, the father of Krishna in Mathura, was always so concerned and worried about Krishna and Balaram. Tana, Sakatasura, Trinavarta, Vatsasura, Bakasura, Agasura, Kaliya, Dhenukasura, they've all come. So Vasudeva sent his priest, Bhaguri Muni, to secretly perform a yajna, a special sacrifice at Govinda Kund at Govardhan for the protection of Krishna and Balaram. This had to be very secret so that Kamsa and other such souls would not detect it. While he was arranging the sacrifice with so many great pure rishis, Srimati Radharani's pet parrot, Sukshmati, came to give the news to her. She was at that time sitting on the banks of Radha Kund, that Bhaguri Muni is performing a secret yajna for Krishna's protection. So Sri Radha and her very, very confidential, loving friends, the Sakis and close gopis, they filled golden pots with pure ghee from the cows of Brajbhumi, and they carried it on their heads from Radha Kund going to Govinda Kund. Meanwhile, Vichakshana, the pet messenger parrot of Krishna, came and whispered to him that Sri Radharani is now carrying pots of pure ghee to Govinda Kund. So Krishna and his Priya Narmasakas, his most confidential cowherd boys, they disguised themselves as tax collectors. And they came to that narrow passageway and blocked it. After some minutes, Srimati Radharani and her gopis came. Krishna had stick, and his friends had sticks. They said, "We are the representatives of the Emperor Kandharpa, and you cannot pass without paying tax." And then Krishna personally, he began to evaluate what would be the tax. He described the beauty, the character, the qualities of each gopi, and for each one of their wonderful, beautiful, divine, loving qualities, there was a tax. He said, for every gopi, minimum 5 handfuls of pure diamonds. They were impatiently waiting. And then Krishna looked at Srimati Radharani and began to glorify her qualities. And actually, Raghunath Das Goswami's beautiful book, the Dana Keli Chintamani, a large portion of it is just Krishna glorifying the various qualities of Srimati Radharani. And each quality, he's explaining what the tax will be. And after pages and pages and pages and most of the book, in the end, it's an absolutely insurmountable, incredible tax for Sri Radharani to pass. The gopis refused to give anything. Krishna insisted. They became angry. They chastised him. How dare you? And there was a wonderful, wonderful, loving argument. And Krishna was becoming quite firm, but they were more firm. Then a cuckoo bird whispered in Krishna's ear that your being harsh is not going to work with the gopis. Better you speak very sweetly. So he was praising them, but the argument was in such a way that neither would budge. Then Lalita Saki, she said to Krishna, if you don't let us pass at this moment, I will tell your mother and father about your naughty activities. Krishna said, I will let Radha and gopis pass, but you have to stay. So then they argued again. And these beautiful, loving arguments, the granddaughter of Purnamasi, the guru of Vrindavan, Nandi Mukhi Gopi, she happened to arrive at that time and she was listening. She was listening to them arguing with each other. And it was so sweet. It was so filled with love. She was astonished. Nandi Mukhi gave a benediction that anyone who hears the beautiful, loving exchange of this conversation, of argumentation between Krishna and his gopis will attain the ultimate happiness of liberation. So that's a benediction for all of us, for all time to come. And then Nandimukhi told Krishna that actually Bhaguri Muni is a great saint. He can't begin his yajna until Srimati Radharani and gopis bring the ghee. So please, he's waiting. Let them pass. And I promise you, they will return tomorrow. So Krishna will let them pass. And they brought the ghee, and the beautiful yajna took place. The next day, the gopis, they came to a place called Dana Nivartan Kund. It's on the way to Dangati, where Krishna was going to come back to tax them. But they came early, and she came with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gopis. They all hid behind trees, behind bushes. No one was to be seen. And Krishna came, very playful, with just a few of his friends. And as they were passing from behind, unseen by Krishna and the gopas, Shri Radha and gopis grabbed their hair and tied their hair to rocks, to trees, to bushes, so they couldn't move. They were now prisoners, and they started rebuking, chastising, and to punish Krishna and the cowherd boys. Radha and gopis beat them with flowers. And they said, now you must understand that Srimati Radharani is Vrindavaneshwari. She's the queen of Vrindavan, and no one can be called king without her blessings. Everything in Vrindavan, she is the queen. She is the predominating goddess. Now you must pay tax. You must pay tax for every blade of grass your cows have ever eaten. You must pay tax for every single blade of grass that you and your naughty friends trample on every day. Krishna was so overwhelmed and conquered by their love. He said, I do not have anything. And then Krishna, he paid his tax in the form of proclaiming that for all of eternity, I give my statement. I will always be subordinate to the love of Srimati Radharani. And he paid his tax by bowing at the lotus feet of Sri Radha to show the world for all time to come the culmination of the highest truth of the Bhagavad Gita, Mabhijananti. It is only by love and devotion that one can know Krishna. Krishna, who is the conqueror of everything. Mahavishnu, a partial expansion. His exhalation and inhalation creates and destroys entire universes. But Krishna's eternal pastime is, there's nothing he finds more happiness than being conquered by the love of his devotee. Krishna is the Vishaya Vigraha. He's the supreme object of love. And Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Sri Radharani as the Ashray Vigraha. She is the supreme abode of love. To be servant of the servant of the servant of her love is the highest aspiration. From the Dangati, we come to Anakuta Kshetra. It was actually from Dana Nivartan Kund to Aniyor that those mountains and mountains and mountains and lakes of Bhoga were arranged by Krishna and offered by the Brijavasis to Govardhan Hill. And it was there that he accepted and ate all the offerings. It's a beautiful meditation in Vrindavan. In a material sense, being hungry is not so nice. It's a discomfort. But in the spiritual world of bhakti, hunger is an impetus for love. Giriraja's hunger is unlimited, and the devotees can offer unlimited love, and Krishna's forever ecstatically hungry for the love of his devotees. Srila Prabhupada describes this is the spirit that devotees try to limitlessly please Krishna through our loving service. And that is the very prayer of chanting the Mahamantra. Next in our parikram, we come to Bachagaon. This is a place where, in the story of Lord Brahma Vimohan Lila, Brahma stole the calves and the cowherd boys, and Krishna, to satisfy his devotees' prayers, and at the same time to humble Brahma, he manifested as every calf and every gopa. In Vrindavan, all the elder gopas loved Krishna as father, and all the gopis loved him as mother. Still, they all worshipped and honored with the highest love Nanda and Yashoda, because they were giving the greatest pleasure as mother and father to Krishna. There's no envy in the spiritual world. Whatever our service, whatever our aspiration for service, we honor and find happiness in others who are doing it better. That's the basic difference between the material world and the spiritual world. Material world, what we aspire to achieve, we are envious if someone is superior. In the spiritual world, we're aspiring with all of our hearts. And when we see that somebody is pleasing Krishna in a superior way, we're happy that Krishna's getting that happiness. We honor them. So all the cows who really wanted Krishna as their own child, and all the elder gopas and gopis who wanted Krishna as their own child, they honored, they worshiped, they loved, they were so happy with Nanda and Yashoda. But still, Krishna wanted to give them that loving exchange. So he took the opportunity. He became identical to every calf and every cowherd boy. And there were limitless numbers. And he did this for 1 year. And not a single resident of Vrindavan had even the slightest thought that this is not my child, that this is not my friend. 2 or 3 days before the year ended and Brahma returned, Krishna and Balaram were herding their calves with the cowherd boys just at the foot of Govardhan Hill in this place called Bachagaon. The cowherd men were on top of Govardhan Hill with the cows. When the cows saw their little calves, and they were actually, because a whole year had passed, some of them actually had another calf beyond that. But still, when they saw their calves at the foot of Govardhan Hill, they became so ecstatic in motherly love, something that never seen before. Every single cow galloped down the hill to give milk to their calves, to lick their calves, to smell their calves, to love their calves. And the cowherd men, this is something very dangerous. Govardhan Hill is to run down many big stones. They were in great anxiety. They were running after their cows. Such a transcendental scene. Cows with their tails raised, with tears flooding from their eyes, with ecstatic symptoms, are running down a mountain to be with their calves. And the cowhead men with the sticks are running and running, trying to keep up with them, trying to protect them behind. And when they came to Bachagaon, the cows met their calves, and they were weeping with motherly love and licking them. And the calves were drinking their milk. Each calf was Krishna. Balaram, he was watching. It's described in Srimad Bhagavatam. He was astonished. Do you know what it takes to astonish Lord Balaram? He was looking on in wonder. What is the nature? What is the miracle of this love? The love of each cow for their calf was infinite. And the cowherd men, they were so upset and disturbed in worry for their cows. But when they saw their little children, the same thing happened to them. Because their children were Krishna, they began to cry. They embraced their children. They were smelling the heads of their children. And Balaram is thinking, what is this? This doesn't, even in Vrindavan, this doesn't happen. And then he realized, and he asked Krishna, and he understood Balaram. It was disclosed to him that Krishna had expanded into the forms to become every cowherd boy and every calf. The day that Brahma stole the calves and the boys was Janmashtami. No, I'm sorry, it was Balaram Purnima. It was the appearance day of Balaram, so he was held back that day. So he did. The whole year passed, and except for Krishna, no one, including Balaramji, his original expansion and first guru, had any sense of detecting what was happening. Krishna's Rasavaisaha. He is the emperor, the supreme connoisseur of loving relationships. When he wants to facilitate a pastime of ecstatic love, every detail is so perfectly manifested to give the highest exchange of happiness and affection. Little down the Parikrampathas, Shankarshan Kund. It is a place where Lord Balaramji especially would love to come and bring his cows to drink the water. And he and the cowherd boys would bathe and play in Shankarshan Kund. And it's especially the place at Govardhan Hill, a place where Balaram is remembered and worshipped. And when we go to Shankarshan Kund, it's especially our good fortune when we remember Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. Rajendra Nandana Jai Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se Balarama Hoilo Nitai. Narottam Das Thakur prays that Krishna appeared as the son of Sachi, and Nityananda Prabhu appeared as Balaram. Balaram's mercy in the form of Lord Nityananda is actually the means by which we're given entrance into the Leelas of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Radha and Krishna, he proclaimed this himself. Nityananda Prabhu, it was he and Haridas Thakur that first introduced Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami to Lord Chaitanya. Raghunath Das Goswami, he wanted so much to give his heart, his soul, his life to the service of Lord Chaitanya, but it was just impossible. He could not escape from material circumstances around him. But in that holy place of Panihati, under a banyan tree on the bank of Ganga, Nityananda Prabhu was with his associates, and Raghunath Das Goswami came there and arranged a beautiful feast of Chiradahi for the pleasure of all Nityananda's devotees. And Nityananda was so pleased with him, he blessed him to receive the full shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Raghunath Das Goswami himself stated, it is only through your mercy, Lord Nityananda, then what can receive the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By Lord Nityananda's mercy, Raghunath Das Goswami became a confidential servant of Lord Chaitanya for 16 years in Puri, and then he made his residence for the rest of his life at Radhakund. Sanatan Goswami is our Sambandha Acharya. Through his life and through his teachings, he establishes our relationship with Krishna. Sri Rupa Goswami is our Abhideya Guru. Through his life and teachings, he gives us entrance into spontaneous loving service to Radha and Krishna. And Raghunath Das Goswami, our Prayojana Guru, through his love and through his life and teachings, he is teaching the highest revelation of the gopis' love. So these three principles, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, the root of all of them is Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there's that beautiful story in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was living in a small village in Bengal, and his brother had offended a devotee of Lord Nityananda, even though his brother was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Kaviraj Goswami said, it is hypocrisy to try to be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya without being a devotee of Lord Nityananda, because you can't please Lord Chaitanya unless you recognize the mercy of Lord Nityananda. That night, Nityananda Prabhu appeared to Kaviraj Goswami in a dream and said, "Go to Vrindavan, and all of your desires will be fulfilled." As soon as that dream ended, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, without taking anything or anyone with him, just left home forever and came to Vrindavan. And every day at Radha Kund for 3 to 5 hours, Raghunath Das Goswami would recite the beautiful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And Kaviraj Goswami, on the request of all the devotees, he compiled the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's referring back that this is all possible only by the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and only by the mercy of those devotees who receive the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. So at Shankar Shan Kund, we remember how Balaram appeared as Lord Nityananda. He delivered Jagai and Madhai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to kill them because they were so sinful. But Nityananda Prabhu prayed, "Please be merciful to them, give them love of Krishna." And they became great acharyas. When Nityananda Prabhu was sent by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while in Navadvip to every home, to every shop, to every bathing ghat, begging people to chant the names of Krishna, to worship Krishna, to make Krishna their life and soul. And he and Haridas, that's how they spent their days. The all-powerful Balaram, in his Leela, he killed so many of the mightiest asuras. He exhibited all-powerful strength. But as Nityananda Prabhu, he would place grass between his teeth and with tears of compassion beg everyone, without considering who is fit or unfit, to love Krishna, to serve Krishna, and to chant the holy names. Nitai Padakamalak Koti Chandra Shushitala. That the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are refreshingly cool, like tens and millions of moons. They give one shelter from the burning flames of material existence. And he describes only through the mercy of Lord Nityananda can one understand and enter into the pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna. And this statement of Narottam Das Thakur is very much supported throughout our parampara. Srila Prabhupada, in that mood of Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, he called himself an insignificant beggar. He went house to house, shop to shop, village to village, town to town, city to city, continent to continent, all over the world, begging people to take Krishna Bhakti and Krishna Nam. And his great desire to bring his devotees from all over the world to Sri Mayapur Dham and Sri Vrindavan Dham. And wanting to give this essential emphasis to the mercy of Nityananda. In Vrindavan Leela, Nityananda is Balaram. The Prabhupada established Sri Sri Radha Shama Sundar. And not only devotees from all over the world, but even so many Brijbasis, they tell each other that in all of Braj Bhumi, the most beautiful deity of Srimati Radharani is in the ISKCON temple. And there's Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govinda, Radha Damodar, Radha Gopinath, Radha Raman, Radha Vinod, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So many of our acharyas established Radha and Krishna deities. And Srila Prabhupada established these most beautiful Radhas, Sri Sri Radha Shama Sundar. But he gave prominence on the center altar to Krishna Balaram, because he was inviting, even in India, the most fallen people and everyone else, and from all over the world, come to Vrindavan. And if you receive the mercy of Lord Nityananda and Balaram, then you will actually have the blessings to understand Sri Sri Radharshama Sutta. Then we come to Govinda Kund. We were speaking when Indra was humiliated, defeated, and ultimately surrendered by the mercy of Surabhi. He had a beautiful coronation ceremony to worship Krishna, to coronate Krishna as the true Lord of all lords. At Govinda Kund, Surabhi performed Abhishek for Krishna on behalf of all the cows with their love in the form of milk. And then Indra, he brought celestial waters from the Akash Ganga with Airavata, his elephant carrier, and he called upon Lord Brahma to be the head priest, Lord Shiva to preside, Narada Muni to attend, Varuna, Agni, all the principal demigods, they all assembled at Govinda Kund, along with their wives, their consorts, Arundhati, and such other great celebrated celestial goddesses. And they bathed Krishna, and they worshiped Krishna, and they gave Krishna the name Govinda, and that place is Govinda Kund. Srimad Bhagavatam explains, if you water the root of a tree, every part of the tree is satisfied. And similarly, when we please Krishna with our love and our devotion and our service, then all the demigods who are like the leaves and the flowers on Krishna's tree, they are all fully satisfied. And that was one of the principles of Krishna's lessons for Govardhan Puja. Krishna did not disrespect the demigods. He appreciated their service. He never wanted us to ever disrespect a demigod because they're great empowered devotees of the Lord. But he wanted to establish that worshiping demigods for material benedictions is just a source of eventual suffering. Whatever the demigods have to offer, they're getting it from Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. He's the source of everything. He's the root. If we worship Krishna, we can achieve ultimate liberation of ecstatic love for Krishna. Eternal liberation from all the bondages of this material existence and entrance into his abode only by worshiping the Supreme Lord. And in this way, fully satisfy all obligations to our forefathers and mothers, the sages, the demigods. Govinda Kund represents all the demigods coming together to celebrate Krishna as their Lord. And yet Krishna, they have beautiful crowns and wonderful carriers and magnificent palaces. And at Govinda Kund, they're worshiping Krishna as a small 7-year-old cowherd boy, playing and joking with his friends. The greatest saintly people throughout history have come to worship the Lord at Govinda Kund. Srila Madhavendra Puri, he was in the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. And in the Brahma Sampradaya, he was the first to so fully reveal the pure Madhurya Rasa of Vrindavan. Madhavendra Puri came to Vrindavan while he was on pilgrimage of many holy places. And we read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he did parikrama of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. And after the parikram, he came to Govinda Kund. And there he sat on the bank of this beautiful reservoir of sacred water under a tree. And the little cowherd boy from the local village of Anior, he approached Madhavendra Puri. He said, "Oh, Goswamiji, you are sitting here for so long. You have not taken any food. I see people who come to my village, I always give them food. Sometimes they beg, and if they won't even beg, I will come and supply myself." The village ladies, they were coming to fetch water at Govinda Kund, and they've been seeing you here for a long time, and they sent me with this pot of milk. So he gave him the milk, and then he said, "I have to go milk my cows. My mother and father are calling for me." Madhavendra Puri drank that milk, washed the pot, waiting for the child to come back to collect it. Throughout the night, in deep meditation, he was chanting Shri Shri Radha and Krishna's holy names. And just toward the end of the night, he happened to enter into a state like a trance. and had a dream. That same little cowherd boy took him by the hand and said, I have been waiting for you for a long time. The local priests, fearful of a foreign invasion, took my form and hid it in the bushes. I'm cold. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I'm just waiting for you, Madhavendra Puri. Call the Brijabasis. Take me out of the bushes. Bathe me with the waters of Govinda Kund and establish me in a temple. On the banks of Govinda Kund, Madhavendra Puri woke up and he was initially ashamed. That little boy was Krishna and I didn't recognize him. I didn't offer obeisances. I didn't serve him. I didn't offer him anything. Rather, he offered me milk. But even though he was feeling ashamed, he understood that the priority over all these different emotions is our service to please the Lord. So he absorbed himself. Gopal had told him, I am Gopal, and I'm the lifter of Govardhan hill. So he went and got Brijabasis and said, the Govardhan Dari is in those bushes. And they cut their way through very thick thickets. And there they discovered that beautiful form of Srinathji, who was originally installed 4,500 years before by Vajra, the great-grandson of Krishna. And there at Govinda Kund, we read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhavendra Puri organized this wonderful festival. They brought 900 pots of water from Govinda Kund and bathed the deity of Gopal. He offered Panchagavya, Panchamrita, and so many beautiful. And then after the deities was bathed with Abhishek, then he was massaged with pure sandalwood oil and fragrances. Then he was decorated and dressed and put on a beautiful stone throne. And Madhavendra Puri, under Gopal's instruction, arranged Anakuta. The villagers of Aniyor, they brought all the ingredients of everything they had of food and made mountains and mountains and mountains. And after the offering, there was arti, wonderful kirtans. Then he put the deity to rest and organized an incredible feast for everyone. And after everyone was fully satisfied and Krishna was resting, Madhavendra Puri just took a little bit of milk. And that festival was so popular here in Vrindavan that after that, every village of the whole Braj Bhumi area was coming to Madhavendra Puri saying, we want to offer anakut of everything we have to Gopal. And then this say one day after another. What we're doing here is very small. We're only doing 7 days or 10 days, whatever this yatra is. But for several years, Madhavendra Puri every day was having a massive Anakuta festival with entire villages would bring every day everything they had in the stock of foods, and they would all cook it there, cooking mountains. Then the next day, the next village would come, and each villager, each family among the Brijabasi donated one cow to Gopal. And after some time, Gopal said, I'm still hot. Please go to the Malayan hills and bring sandalwood to cool me. And eventually, Madhavendra Puri came to Remuna, the Kirchor Gopinath temple. And a very special feature of this narration, it's all told by Lord Chaitanya. After he took sannyas, he was on his way to Vrindavan. His mother, Sachi, appealed to him, please make your home in Puri, because the same Krishna of Vrindavan is living as Jagannath in Puri. When Lord Chaitanya was in Remuna and saw the deity of Kirchor Gopinath and remembered how Gopinath stole sweet rice for his devotee Madhavendra Puri, he was so ecstatic thinking about his devotee Madhavendra Puri. He spent hours and hours telling Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda, Damodar Pandit, Jagadananda Pandit, whoever was traveling, he told them the whole story of Madhavendra Puri. And at the end of the story, Lord Chaitanya was in such ecstasy, he was crying, tasting that sweet rice, that kheer, remembering the love and the glories of Madhavendra Puri's devotion. As far as I'm remembering, I don't think there is any place in any literature that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had ever told such an in-depth, wonderful story as his description of Madhavendra Puri. He spoke for many days with Ramananda Rai. He spoke philosophy with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Prakashananda Saraswati. He spent 2 months speaking philosophy and teachings with Sanatana Goswami, 10 days with Rupa Goswami at Prayag, but where he's telling a story about a devotee. It's an entire chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The glory of the love of the Lord for his devotees. In Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, they describe when Lord Chaitanya would glorify his devotees, he did it with so much affection, so much appreciation, so much enthusiasm. It appeared that he had 5 mouths simultaneously. And when he described the glories of Vasudev Datta for his compassion, his willingness to suffer perpetually so that all of us could go back to Godhead and be with Krishna, seeing his genuine compassion for all beings, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu choked up, couldn't talk, tears in his eyes, and when he could speak, it was as if he had 1,000 mouths. How Mahaprabhu glorified Madhavendra Puri. Lord Chaitanya became the disciple of his disciple. Nityananda Prabhu was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Ananda Puri, who Lord Chaitanya worshipped, was a disciple of Uddhava. Paramananda Puri's Uddhava, he was disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Brahmananda Bharati, Advaitacharya, was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. When we go to Govinda Kund, we remember the wonderful loving devotion of Madhavendra Puri and the sweetness of the pure loving relationship he had with Gopal and with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the spiritual world, he's a Kalpavriksha, confidentially assisting the most loving pastimes of Sri Sri Radha Govinda. I'll speak one more place and then continue day after tomorrow. Just to the left, about 2 miles from Anior, is Chandra Srovar. It is on the parikrama path that Sanatana Goswami would walk every day. During the spring season, on the Vasant Purnima, the full moon night of Vasant, the month of Vaishakha, Krishna played his flute under a tree called the Rasastali and called for Srimati Radharani and her closest, most confidential gopi associates. And they would perform their Rasa Lila. This Vasant Rasa Lila was performed all around Govardhan Hill. There's limitless places where they would enjoy different aspects of their Rasa dances and loving reciprocations at Govardhan Hill. In the caves, in the kunds, in the forests, at what is now Chandra Srovar. It is described that when Shri Shri Radha Gopinath and gopis were dancing together there in this highest form, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that the gopis were the supreme renunciates. In fact, in our sampradaya, the basic principle of sannyas is to honor and worship the pure love and renunciation of the gopis. As they were dancing, the drops of loving perspiration merged into the waters of Chandra Srovar. And Chandra, the Lord of the moon, on this full moon night, rose. And when Chandra witnessed the singing, the dancing, the loving relationships of pure transcendental emotions with the gopis and Krishna, he became stunned. So stunned that Chandra could not move. He was suspended in the sky all night long. He's one place, just beaming his moonbeams and wanting to serve this beautiful Leela of Radha and Krishna and gopis, the nectar, the greatest offering that he could give was the nectar, the somaras, and beyond. His love and devotion in the form of moonbeams mixed with the perspiration of the gopis and Krishna to become Chandrasrovar. And that Rasalila, Krishna, he orchestrated in such a way to fully satisfy his devotees that one night lasted a night of Brahma, 4,032,000,000 years. And the moon didn't move. Krishna was born in the dynasty of the moon. So Chandra was very, very much proud of his descendant, Krishna. It was a loving relationship. Krishna is Vrindavan Chandra. He's the moon of Vrindavan. And he was shining the radiance of his mercy upon the moon in the sky, Chandra. And Chandra was reciprocating by shining the moon of his devotion upon Vrindavan Chandra, the moon of Vrindavan. And in that confluence of the moonlight of Vrindavan Chandra and Srimati Radharani's love and Gopi's love, the flowers were blooming, especially limitless golden and yellow flowers. The peacocks dancing, all the birds of the night were singing songs of love from the very core of their hearts. And Govardhan was especially in that moonlight radiant with supreme transcendental beauty. The demigods wanted to assist. They came with Gandharvas, with instruments, horns, kettle drums, and they were playing to accompany Krishna and serve him while he was dancing with gopis. And hearing the song of the gopis and Krishna singing and seeing their dance, they became completely stunned and could no longer play their instruments. And it was there that Shishirata Madhava and their associates, they danced, they played water pastimes in the nectarine waters of Chandrasrovar. It is also called the Parama Rasastali. The great devotee Surdas, his samadhi is on the banks of Chandrasrovar. The Brijabasis, they are very much fond of his bhajans, his prayers. He wrote thousands of prayers in the local Brijbas language. Surdas was blind from birth, from a very poor Brahmin family, and he was very neglected. When he was 6 years old, he left his home and came to Vrindavan. On the banks of the Yamuna in Vrindavan, he met his guru, Shripad Vallabhacharya. And Surdas, blind, could see the spiritual world. And even today, so many thousands of songs. He would worship Srinathji, and he would write beautiful songs and sing them about Srinathji's beauty. And one time the pujaris wanted to test him. Could he really see Srinathji? How can he describe every detail of what Srinathji's wearing? So one day, they didn't put any clothes on Srinathji. And they brought Surdas and said, please tell us, what is Srinathji wearing today? How is he decorated? And Surdas, with great emotion, he said, today, my beloved Gopal Srinathji, he is appearing without anything covering his supreme transcendental beauty. And he wrote one beautiful poem where he's describing the lotus eyes of Gopal. And he's writing, after seeing the beauty of my beloved Lord, I no longer could remain in the cage of this material body. And at that moment, he left his body on the banks of Chandrasrovar, where his samadhi is today. And just down the road from there is Paita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells the story when he was in South India. During the Vasant Rasa Leela, the spring rasa dance, Krishna hid from the gopis. He disappeared. In separation, they were searching everywhere for him. And Krishna was under a tree, and they happened to see him and came running toward him. So Krishna, in order to remain concealed, he manifested his form of Narayan. with 4 arms holding the lotus flower, the conch shell, the club, and the Sudarshan chakra, the royal lord of Vaikuntha. And the gopis ran to him. And when they saw it wasn't Krishna, it was Narayan, they bowed their heads. With folded palms, they offered prayers. And Lord Narayan, he said to them, I'm very pleased you have come. I will offer you any benediction you desire. Ask anything. I'll give you anything. I'll give you everything. If you were asked that question by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what would you ask? The gopis, they said, we only have one benediction we ask of you. Please tell us how to find Krishna. Did you see where Krishna went? And Krishna, in the form of Lord Narayan, he's with his 4 arms, he pointed into the forest. He has gone over there. And the gopis immediately, they bowed down with great reverence because they can't dance with Lord Narayan. And they ran into the forest looking for Krishna. And then Srimati Radharani, she came to that tree, and the Lord in his majestic Vaikuntha form was sitting. And Srimati Radharani bowed down to him. And when she looked up, in her loving separation from Krishna, the tears in her eyes, her heart just melting with anticipation to find Krishna. Krishna tried with all of his strength to sustain that disguise. But the power of Sri Radha's love is uncontrollably, 2 of his arms melted away. The conch shell, the disc, the club, and the lotus flower disappeared. And he was really trying to keep this disguise. And suddenly, he had just 2 hands, and he was holding his flute. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells this story as evidence of the pure sweetness and the ultimate expression of loving reciprocation that is only in Vrindavan, beyond Vaikuntha. And Krishna's great-grandson Vajranabh, he installed a 4-armed form of Lord Narayan. But when you go there, please know it's Krishna in disguise. And then we come to the mountain of Govardhan. There's a small temple of Doka Dauji where Lord Balaram, during this Vasant Purnima, he heard the beautiful singing of Krishna and gopis. And usually, he would never come close to the pastime of Krishna and gopis because he's Krishna's elder brother, and Krishna had certain etiquette and respect toward his elder brother. And to not in any way create a compromise in the freedom of the intimacy of Krishna's expression of loving his gopis. Whenever they were performing Rasa Leelas in a confidential way, Balaram would always find another place to be. But on this day, during the Vasant Ras Purnima, he couldn't resist from watching. So he climbed Govardhan Hill, and there he looked many, many kilometers away to Chandra Sarovar, where he saw the wonderful dance. And mesmerized, he crouched down and became stunned. What a scene. The moon couldn't move. Balaram couldn't move. In fact, his complexion became the same color as Krishna because he was so absorbed in watching his younger brother, enjoying the highest of pastimes. And in his mesmerized form, his crown fell from his head. And at the Doka Dauji temple, on a rock, there's an imprint of Lord Balaram's crown. And I don't want to go any later. The Govardhan Parikrama, the places that have been revealed to us, will soon come to Surabhi Kund, Airavata Kund. Airavata Kund is when Indra surrendered to Krishna by the mercy of Surabhi. He placed his head, chief demigod, placed his head at the lotus feet of Krishna, and he cried. Indra's heartfelt tears bathed Krishna's feet, and the Charanamrit of the tears of Indra that bathed the feet of Lord Sri Govinda filled the Airavata Kund. Let us be grateful. Tomorrow when we celebrate Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, How grateful we should be. He's taken us from the depths of the influences of Kali Yuga, and He's given us opportunity to approach these most loving pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And He's made it all accessible to us. If we simply give our hearts in loving service, and in the desire to serve and please the Lord, we come together to cry out Krishna's holy names. What is the Sankirtan movement? Sometimes people see us in the street and they think, what are these people doing, singing and dancing? But this is at the heart of what the Sankirtan movement is of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. It's the Lord's descending Shri Shri Radha Govind in their holy names to give us entrance into the supreme limitless pastimes of Vrindavan and Govardhan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he often wrote and spoke that by sincerely chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, in the names of the Lord, in the names, the limitless beauty of Krishna, the limitless pastimes of Krishna, the supreme abode of Krishna, Vrindavan, they are all accessible and revealed in the holy names. Because in this beautiful mantra, the whole spiritual world is present. The pastimes and the associates of the Lord are all present in the Leela, in the holy names. Vinadapi Sunichena. As we chant with real, genuine humility and devotion, we become purified. Srila Prabhupada describes sugarcane juice is very sweet, but when you have jaundice, it tastes bitter. But it's also the best medicine for jaundice. It may taste bitter, but if you just have faith under the supervision of a proper physician and just keep taking it, little by little, some days it may even taste more bitter than it ever did before, but it's all the process of getting purified. And what happens when we're pure and cured? We taste the original natural sweetness that it has always been. Thank you very much.